there is a phase in women's lives which is totally ignored, like their 40s and 50s, when they are grappling with a lot of change in their bodies.
What you said, put yourself first. Give that advice to a woman who's been told that she's selfish in putting herself first.
Indian women are not a population, they're countries put together. We're really like twice the size of the United States, 3 times the size of Brazil, 8 times the size of Japan.
There must be a moment where you're growing, but it's feeling like, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. Or is that never happened with Shaili?
I've done like 14 years of amazing work, interviewed Warren Buffett, Tiger Woods, Ratan Tata, Mukesh Ambani, whoever you want.
Don't complain about the situation if you're not doing anything about it. If you are not changing something, you are choosing it. So don't choose without changing. Welcome back to Her Own Narrative, where women's stories don't just echo, they resonate. And today's guest is Shaili Chopra, founder of India's largest platform for women's stories. How exciting is that for Her Own Narrative? Oh my gosh. She's not only just a founder of She the People TV, she's a former award-winning journalist, author, and a digital pioneer. Shaili, all over to you.
Thanks very much. So, it's interesting that you'd have me on the show, and we were starting this conversation by talking about how you're making a comeback, and second innings are what women do when they hit perimenopause, menopause. And I'm very happy to say that, along with She the People, we've launched Gayatri, which is focused on women in midlife and menopause and their journey around navigating that phase. So we do nutrition, we do counseling and coaching. And so it's just been really interesting to bring all of this together and be on your show. Yeah, very excited.
Thank you. I mean, this is the huge moment for me because I am, as you said, I am now just on the beginning of this journey of making a platform where women matter. Every single voice matters. Every story matters. That's what I feel passionate about. That is what my why is. I would like to know your why. Who you've already been on the other side. You've got more than 1.5 million followers on Instagram. You've already got the other 5, 7, 8, 10 businesses going with women and the passion there. What was your why?
So I think, my why was that we needed to start a platform for one single woman to start telling a story and give her the opportunity to, one, get to know herself and get to know herself through the public eye, because most women don't get an opportunity to go out there and tell their own story. I always say, you give a woman a stage, she'll take the steps to it. But if you don't create one, then how does she even get there? So I think we were the stage that was waiting to be built, and She the People was born to essentially create a space where women would talk, share, and be themselves and their own stories. And as that happened, I realized that one of the big things that we miss in our world today is how important stories are. Today, brands are less about logos, more about stories. Personalities are more about what they do than what they did. So I think it's a lot about being not a stock, but a flow in motion. And stories do that, right? So from the time that I was a journalist, a broadcast journalist, one of the youngest editors in India, to setting up She the People or building Gayatri for women in midlife, I think one thing that's very central to our efforts is how do we tell the stories of women or understand the stories of women in these journeys, from being people who are reporting on the ground and sharing live incidents like the Taj terror attack, to, let's say, reaching out to women who are shy and full of self-doubt and culling out their stories from within them and their shield. And then to identify that, there is a phase in women's lives which is totally ignored, like their 40s and 50s, when they are grappling with a lot of change in their bodies. That itself is a story, because her story is changing at that point. So I think I'm really a storyteller who loves to pick on very important moments and journeys in people's lives, but well before others have identified it. And in that sense, I do think I take the harder route and spend more time thinking what's going to be next in a few years from now. That's me.
I love that. So you're a visionary.
I'd love to use that term, but thank you for using it.
You are. If you've already thought 10 steps ahead, which people haven't even thought about, that's being somebody who's a visionary. So I was looking at obviously drawn to you because of your ethos and how you're a storyteller and how you said You stepped into journalism, but at that point, no one else was focusing on women. You said in one of the interviews, you said, I am in journalism, but I want to focus on women. Growth happens where where you feel like there is a breaking point.
Yeah.
So, mixing those two things together, there must be a moment where you're growing, but it's feeling like, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. Or is that never happened with Shaili?
No, I think it happens a lot with me as it happens with many others. But I think one of the things that I've come to learn about myself is that I thrive in difficult times, and I am able to find a way to navigate that journey by seeing things that at least at that point somebody else is not noticing. And I think, these are phases of self-doubt that I need to tell myself it's happening to you because it happens to everybody else. What matters is what really matters is how you deal with it, right?
Find a solution to it.
Yeah, and I think everything doesn't always have a solution, but it certainly has a path. And so I think I've constantly asked myself that, okay, today I'm in journalism. I've done like 14 years of amazing work, interviewed Warren Buffett, Tiger Woods, Ratan Tata, Mukesh Ambani, whoever you want. The whole lot of them I've interviewed. Then I asked myself, so what am I doing here? I'm 29 or 32. Am I going to be a person who retires at 32, having done everybody as an interview? What am I going to do with myself? I'm like, okay, what's going to be big in the next 10 years? Is there anything that you're feeling around it? So then you pick your comfort zones, and I picked digital media, and I felt, okay, you know what? I'm going to just pick this and run with it and not look back. Now, I think within a women's media network that we created, I realized the same thing about how women are not interested in another new app on their head. They want to be where they are. They want us to get where they are. So we actually have a 6 million people community, not even 1.5 million, which is just Instagram, because we're across our own website, we're across YouTube, we're across WhatsApp. And all of these communities are essentially created to do what? To be where women are. And not pull them up from their comfort zones and say, hey, come, be in my little tunnel where we will sit and chat about sisterhood. Hey, you know what? Let me make the initiative. I'll come and see you where you are. And we'll take this to the masses. And I think that really is my goal every time I start a business. I don't like, I hated it when somebody said to me that you're doing business journalism. Oh, that's niche. You're focused on women with She the People. Oh, that's niche. Or you're focused on hormonal health with Gayatri. Oh, that's niche. And I'm like, buddy, let me tell you what niche is. It matters to 50% of your population. And that is my main way to look at how to break out.
I absolutely love it, because you said somewhere, and this is one of your favorite things, you said women deserve and need full media spotlight on what they are doing. We are not just half of the population. We produce and raise the other half. So hang on a second, my friend. What are you even on about? So we are not just the half. Don't use the word just the half. Yeah,
that's true.
We are.
There's so much going on, right? Yeah. I mean, think about it. You're sitting in the UK, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I look at some statistics, right? Mm-hmm. Indian women are 50% of the population here. Not even 50% of the vote, not even 50% of the voice. But if I look globally, Indian women are 1/6 of, they're 1/10 of the world's population. So 10% of the world's population is Indian females. We're 6 billion people in the world. We're 750 million women in India. We're talking about some serious numbers here.
Yeah.
Indian women are not a population. They're countries put together. And we're really like twice the size of the United States, 3 times the size of, Brazil, 8 times the size of Japan, you name it. So I'm just saying we don't see ourselves as a force. We see ourselves as a number. We see ourselves as the weaker sex, or as Simone de Beauvoir said, the second sex. We don't see ourselves as the first.
That's more societal, isn't it? It's not that. And I think something is shifting now. Obviously, there's something shifting. You and me sitting here talking about it is shift. This didn't happen 50 years ago. Yes, there was movements happening, but now we are voicing it. We are voicing, hang on a second, I am ready for my second innings. I've done my first. And unapologetically, I'm here and I want to shift. I want to make a shift, and I am not afraid of approaching likes of you, likes of maybe one day I want Shefali Shah on my show as well. And I'm not scared of having that vision and saying why I want it is not because I want the name, because the ethos is the same. We are talking about the same things. And that is the shift I'm seeing in women now, is every woman is talking about sisterhood. Every woman is talking about, being that supportive network. What you just said, you're creating the community. You're not saying come into my tunnel. I'm creating what you actually are already in there, but I'm giving you more tools for it.
Right. And see, that's the other thing, right? I mean, I always have the option to say no to podcasts. I always have the option to say no to somebody who's not larger than life, bigger than me, more followers than me, and all of that jazz. But I don't. I pick and choose people because I feel that, you know what? Someday she's going to get where I am, and may she get bigger. But she's always going to remember the ones who were out there when she was small.
Absolutely.
And that matters a great deal, right? And I think for me, this whole piece about how we are beginning to see more and more women talk, I do hope that this is normalized, but I also see that within 5 years of women creating such a huge cacophony about their own rights, we are seeing so much more conservative behavior emerge back. There is the rise of all male organizations, as if before women's organizations existed, we didn't already have an all male organization, right? Or we would see the kind of conservative political behavior that's emerging that, women don't deserve this, or whether their abortion rights, whether the right to study, or, their right to get married earlier or not, or later, and so on and so forth. So I just really think that there's a little bit of celebration in women going out there and saying, I'm going to do this. But, you and I can start this because we either have agency or platform. There are many other women who are not able to do that, including women who live in, ivory houses. So I really think that today we are at a very interesting crossroad where
I like that.
We do perceive a change, but I think it's questionable whether there's a lot of change on the ground.
But I think change is not going to happen instantly, but there is a movement happening. And what you just said, interestingly, ivory houses. So there are women out there who want to be heard. Every human being's right is to be heard, seen, and validated, and loved. And being heard is the biggest thing, because that's where your story matters. If my story is not heard and not seen, I feel I am not valid.
Yeah.
The validation happens from seen and heard. But what you and me are doing, we are creating that platform where, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a rocking CEO to say, I've got a story. Hang on a second. A woman next door has got a very valid story as well. And it matters.
Yes. And I think that that's absolutely true. I don't think there's any taking away from that, that the real stories are around. And it's therefore important to tell more and more stories, because I think what makes history are role models. The more role models we put out there, the higher the chance that they will not sieve through, but they will be contained in history books and records as women who did something differently.
Absolutely right. Change makers are the history makers. Exactly. So tell me something. I just love the name She the People, and I'm read again. We the People is India's constitution. Obviously, She the People has to be the one who's going to carry it forward. Tell me a little bit more about why She the People. I know why you created it, but behind She the People.
Name. Sure. So, I think this story is not quite documented, but I'm going to say it for the benefit of your viewers, that She the People was a name that came to me in the year 2008. I always have a little notebook next to my bed where I scribble things that come to me in the middle of the night. And this time it was a little tissue paper on which I wrote She the People, and just put it in my bag the next day and forgot about it. When I finally decided to leave mainstream broadcast journalism, I thought, I want to do something for women. What am I going to do? What am I going to name it? And, just as some stroke of luck, I guess, women are so used to spring cleaning their cupboards. One day I cleaned it up and I was like, oh, this little piece of tissue is here, and I had written "She the People" on it. And I, of course, had even pointed out, for my own remembrance, that this would be because the preamble of the Indian Constitution, as the American one, starts with "We the People." And how can we the people be a democracy without the presence of she the people and its voice? So I think she the people as a name was so powerful, and I was just delighted to have sort of written that and coined it back in 2008, and then just run with it. For me it was just a huge thing, to just crystallize what women can potentially do in a democracy or democracy, whichever you want to pick.
I love that. You know what? Now, my question is, obviously, you are a driven woman. You are somebody who's never stopped. You just run with it. Yeah. And I would love to know, there are two parts to this question now. There is I would love to know what was the journey from coining She the People in 2008, then finding that tissue and saying, yes, let's do it, to where it is today. The journey would be a very interesting journey, as always.
So, there are many parts and many milestones to this journey. First is, of course, like when you have an idea, how do you create that idea in a way that's sustainable? And so you ask yourself that, okay, I could do like a broadcast style studio, bring women inside and kind of like set up this gorgeous lounge. But I was like, hell, why am I going to do that? Because I'm a broadcast journalist who's done her studios, and I want to take the studio down to the people, not people into the studio. So what do I do? So I just picked up my mobile phone. I ran around, bunch of countries, just sort of sussing out what people are thinking about the use of digital media, and would really stellar people give me interviews on a mobile phone. And they did, right? From Shashi Tharoor to covering the Rajat Gupta case, the McKinsey case, or the Citibank case, or the launch of the iPad mini, and so on and so forth. I basically went around the country, including the re-election of Obama, between India and the US. I covered a large number of stories, and I said, listen, what? She the People is going to be India's first journalism outfit, which is office-less, studio-less, but yet tells the maximum stories that we can and has the maximum reach. And so She the People went out there with young women sitting in different parts of India, from Srinagar, Siliguri to Salem, and said, if you feel that this is something interesting, come on board. Let's go out there and tell stories. So that's how the team got built. There were no concepts of followers back then. We had viewers on our platform because She the People is a website. It's not an Instagram handle. And the reason I really emphasize that it's because I'm not just a handle. I mean, we're a movement that has really dug its heels deep and done the hard work and built a very phenomenal website. So if Instagram was dead today, I'm not going to die. And nor will the stories of those million women, right? And so She the People then essentially went out there and said, whose stories are we telling? Are we telling the stories of women who are every day on the front page of the Forbes magazine? And by the way, the last 2 decades have had the same women on the front page. And this is back in 2015. And I'm like, how many more stories do these women need? Right? And how many more women are not getting this opportunity? So for me, the market was very clear. Go out to women who don't get the opportunity to talk about what they do, how they do it, why they do it, and what success is. So I think as we went building it piece by piece, with both success and struggles, we realized that the most important way to build a movement in a world is when you tell the story of a woman who just doesn't have anyone to hear her. And surprise, surprise, these women are sitting in beautiful bungalows, are doing great businesses, are also sitting in rural India, running the ship of their joint family, but nobody gives them any credit. Because why? This is the job of women. This is what they were born for, right? So if there's a history and that history is conditioned, women are patriarchal because that's what the system made them. Men are patriarchal because the system propped them up. How do we break all of this? And the more we heard from women, the more those conversations sort of made them come out of their shell and say, yeah, I need to say this out aloud.
Yeah. And that is so powerful. And it's not only just powerful for your platform, you have changed the narrative of that woman that day. When she owned her story, at that point, she must have felt a different woman. When a story...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do think that one of the things is that not only did we change the course of how women thought about themselves, within themselves, within the microcosm of their home, their office, their public world, we changed the way media thought of women.
Yes.
We forced them to not just report their crime against women, or just when they finished their class 12 and got the best marks, but also cover success stories of women entrepreneurs. Also cover the woman who went from being, a person who was a house manager to a politician. Also cover the stories of women who are not attached to the chair of a position in a company, but actually are ground up rising. And in that sense, we literally changed the way Indian media thinks about women and triggered the birth of many, 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 many podcasts and companies and media that started focusing on women. And I'm very proud of that, because I never think that one is enough.
Never.
The power
Never.
of
There
many
are
is critical.
Oh, yes. I think power of many, and together you're stronger. I always
Always.
say it's
Yeah.
me to we is the way to go. You can only
Yeah.
be so much yourself. The minute you start going bigger, you got to be having everyone enrolled with you. So
Yep.
100%, 100%,
Always.
I agree. So, challenges, struggles. What was the struggle in creating, and many, but what was the point where you thought, you know what, nah, can't do it?
So I think it's a good question. What were my challenges? I think the challenges keep adding up each time you learn something, because you move from scale A to scale B, and you're like, okay, now there's a new challenge out here. I don't think I ever found it very challenging to figure out how I would convince people that they need to tell their story, or how they need to beat self-doubt, right? In that sense, I'm a bit boisterous. I don't take anybody's logic and I show them mine, even if sometimes that seems dictatorial, simply because I felt like I had a cause and women were blind to it, or men were blind to it. I think it was hard initially to beat this notion of what I was telling you earlier. People think that anything you do with women is niche, and I find that really stupid. So I would have to convince a lot of people, including those who would park their money and sponsor and invest in what we're doing here. But I think one of the things that comes with a lot of conviction is that you refuse to let go. You're like, okay, you're going to say no to me. Let me show you now. Oh, you're going to say no to me. Let me show you now. And each time you can do that, you can go back to them and say, you know what? This is what your no did to me. It made me do more. And then now I've done this. Now, would you like to go back to it again? Right? So I think I'm very, very stubborn. I don't like to take no for an answer. But there were challenges. I mean, there were challenges of people saying, what is scale? And this is my favorite one, because I still meet all kinds of men who are like, what is the scale of She the People? I'm like, other than a 6 million community, is that when you stop 3 people on the road, at least one will know. And then I'm like, yeah, but what about monetary scale? I'm like, I'm a profitable business. Anand Mahindra is my seed investor, who I deeply, deeply admire for what he did when I didn't even have a single website up, right? He cut me a check and he said, your idea is brilliant. Go out and run with it. I ran with it. And I came back to him and I said, guess what? We learned how to make some of this money that you gave us within the first 6 months. And he was really proud of what we did, right? So I just think that there is this notion in our world, partly because of us, partly because of both men and women who have just drilled this in themselves, that the only reason companies become scaled is because they have the money, or they show the money. And I think that's a very stupid way to look at scale. Definitely make money. We make a lot of money. Let's just put that.
Listen, 100%. Everybody is in here to make money.
But why is it that when you look at e-commerce, you say Flipkart? When you look at, say, television, at say NDTV. When you look at digital media, bang on, say She the People. I
you
really
become a brand.
Yeah, it's a brand and it touches lives. I think it does far better job than necessarily being a delivery agent. So I am just saying, if you are building brands as women and men who are listening to me, break your benchmarks. Don't go in for the strange benchmarks that you're fed on. And that is one challenge I had to beat again and again, to not fall in the trap of that challenge.
If you had to, I've just had this question straight away pop. If you had to rate yourself as a feminist on 0 to 10, where would you rate yourself?
I am 12.
I
I
love
am too.
it.
I mean, I just think that, I mean, this question comes to me pretty much in every interview. And most people are like, they'll have some version of the question about, are you a feminist? Why you're a feminist? My feminism is very clear. The choice to make your choice is my feminism.
That's
Now,
right.
if you ask me, men need this feminism just as much as women do. So if women have to be the world's largest minority, man, I'm going to raise both my hands and say I'm a feminist. Yes.
I love it. And I'll tell you why I asked you that question, because a couple of podcasts before, I had this amazing woman who talks about women and midlife and all that. And I was talking to Claire, and we were talking about, again, this is me who's coming into second innings. I'm just trying and, still opening up. I'm still not as bold, getting there slowly. And I was like, you know what? I've had this weekend full of noise in my ear where people have sat there, especially men, and pointing their fingers at me and saying, you are a feminist. And I actually took it as I was ashamed a little bit somewhere, saying that, oh, I don't call myself feminist and this and that. And she looked at me, she's like, why did you say that? I said, because I'm not a man hater. She's like, but there is a confusion. That is the confusion. What people are doing is they're dividing and ruling us. We are feminists in a way where we say we want to be equal. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. Doesn't mean we are man haters. And this is where the whole difference in being a feminist and man hater comes. And yes, from that podcast, I rose my hand and I was like, I am a feminist.
There is this tendency of both men and women, certainly women, to say, I'm not a feminist. I'm not that type of a feminist or this type of a feminist. I just think that if you are working towards equality, you are a feminist. And anybody who's trying to debate and question or be ambiguous about it, they really need to know they're doing a disservice to whatever they're doing.
Yeah. I agree. And again, hands up. I think I have changed my whole perspective in the last few weeks, where I was just literally being shouted at from all the ends and saying, you kind of women are putting the other kind of women down who don't really want to go out there and make so much noise. But hang on a second, I'm making noise because I feel like I want to be heard. If those, and I'm not judging the other women who don't want it.
But I feel this the same is happening now with midlife and menopause. I was chatting with a 48-year-old woman, and she was like, oh, I don't think I have menopause. So I was telling her, oh, you're biologically
you are menopausal.
There.
Yeah,
you're definitely there. Now you can be in denial, right? But this is the thing. We are so conscious about age. We're so conscious about weight. It's okay to say you're conscious about it. It lifts off the weight when you do that. But the minute you constantly say, oh, and not me, you're othering the problem. Oh, my husband's not unequal. He puts me on a pedestal. Yeah, of course, it's his money and you're spending it and you think you're equal. I mean, which world are you in?
Which world you're in? Right? Because the minute you will put your demand or your right, you're not going to get it.
So that's what I'm trying to say. So the perception of what is equality, where and when you need to start acknowledging that you are hitting midlife, menopause, etc. We have this tendency, we want to run away from situations and we want to make this thing about everybody else has it. Oh, I'm not menopausal, but yeah, my sister definitely is. Or I'm not this, but somebody else is. And I just feel like women need to sometimes remove that mask or at least call it out for themselves. They'll be much happier.
Own it.
Just own it.
Own it. It is.
And if you're so shy to own it, then just don't, at least run away from it. Don't be in denial, because your being in denial leaves other people wondering whether they should be in denial, and that's not good.
Tell me one of the interesting stories that came on She the People very, very early on, and that actually got you like, you know what, I love what I do.
I think there were two stories. I mean, one was the fact that I interviewed somebody who was very, very prominent and was essentially, like a major donor to large global universities and, was essentially a powerful name. And I asked myself at the end of the interview, why did I interview this person? And honestly, I just interviewed this person because she was a rich wife. And I went back and I erased that interview. And then I went back to that person 2 years down. I said, I'd like to do an interview with who you are and talk about what you think. because I think the interview you gave me last time, and good on me to have scrapped that, is because you just were like the trophy wife of somebody else. And if you are donating so much money to X, Y, and Z, you're just taking your husband's money and putting it out elsewhere. Why don't you talk about who you are? And I do really genuinely believe that if women are in positions where they have no other choice but to live off their money, of the husband, I understand the problem. I understand that this isn't a great position of privilege or freedom. But I get really cross when that becomes their platform to become like larger than life. It is problematic. You're
It is
faking it,
problematic. You're faking
and
it
you're
because
making
you're
it
not happy
difficult for
somewhere.
everybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
It's that you're faking it, or you're kind of making there is a mirage of what you really are doing, right? And I just find that terribly odd. What needs to be looked at is how women, no matter how small or big, are doing things to move the needle in their homes. There are many, many, many stories, but a story from Lucknow of Anjali, who runs Jute Bags India. I still chat with her now and then, give her business. She is somebody who started with 2 women making bags, and then slowly, as the eco movement started, more and more companies came and offered her, businesses for their corporate brochures to make the bags for which, totes and all of that, just made with cloth and jute. And now I can see she has a flourishing business. Uttar Pradesh has, recognized her work as somebody who's now got 35 to 40 women in a factory doing this. I just find that there is such resonance in that story because so many people leave things at the point they have 2 people. They don't take it from 2 to 20, 20 to 200. And Anjali demonstrated that so nicely. You'll find lots of newspaper clips about her. There are many, many such stories, including stories of some very smart women who very soon realized that they were living in these rich bubbles. And the minute they raised their voices, they were out of that, privileged circle. It's so easy to conform and be what everybody wants you to be, right? I find this is so true in Indian culture. I don't know, maybe it's true elsewhere too. The woman normally, when the couple goes out to a party, she's like the trophy, right? She's like the hanger-on. It's just so difficult for me to accept that.
I can't accept that either. You can't, because, and if that's your choice, it's fine. But if you're not, we
I don't even
have
know why
a choice.
that is a choice.
That's not.
Right?
Most women don't have a choice there.
I would feel for somebody who doesn't have a choice. I don't feel for somebody who has a choice. So just saying that, it's just so problematic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if that's out of your choice, it's great. But mostly, if that's not out of choice, what does it boil down to? What you brought in earlier is why you, and again, why it comes down to financial independence. And there is a big
all of it.
thing. All of it is about financial independence. And I think every woman needs to be financially independent to make that choice for themselves. That you're not in a position where I have no choice. Why a choice is taken away from us.
And I think that's why when we talk about feminism, equality, I think a cornerstone of this is independence and self-reliance. And that is linked to the ability to earn your own money and spend your own money and have your own bank account and have your agency to decide what you do with it.
But then what happens is then other part of the world is now calling the feminists who are talking about these things, are that you're running a propaganda. You're running a propaganda on women who don't want to, because women actually are natural nurturers. Yes, that doesn't go away from me.
I don't mind charging for nurturing.
You are lovely.
It's just being honest.
Yeah.
There is always going to be, remember, you're taking up somebody else's space. If the total finite space is 10 and somebody takes up 2, the 8 are going to find it uncomfortable because 2 of them have been let off. I think it's just the math. So clearly when somebody takes space, I mean, it's a standard one, right? New York Times did this beautiful article about the difference between assertive and aggressive is her gender. And that's really the truth of every single fundamental workplace, home, and more importantly, this idea of taking up space.
Yeah. If a woman is assertive, she's aggressive. But if a man does it, He's just a good
He's
leader.
a leader.
Yeah. 100%. It is absolutely amazing. And what have you created? I'm so honored to have you here today. I feel
Thanks.
like I want a lot of more nuggets, and I want a lot of more advice on how to go, what to go, and how just to run with it. Don't stop. And what would your advice be to the women who are not as driven, but there is something, especially in our age, like, menopausal and midlife? And so tell me, her own narrative, a young baby, what would she, the people, give me advice for?
So, I actually have widened the way I give advice. I have two parts to it. One is about what you can do, and the other is what you should do. What you can do is to at least put yourself first in most situations. And it's okay to just turn around and say, I'm just prioritizing myself. I see my 8-year-old girl doing this now, and I'm very
Oh,
proud of her.
yes.
I'm out there to make that space for her. I need some time on my own. I'm like, totally have it. It's okay. Right? Because I want her to feel this is normal. And the other part of it is that I constantly advise young women to take charge of their health. I feel that we as a gender, partly because of this massive burden of nurturing, we've always given and not consumed what we need for our own bodies. And so I have insisted on young girls and women across ages to do training, fitness, consume supplements that their bodies need. Just like men do, they're so good at this. They will go before they can even hold a racket on the tennis field. They'll be dressed up for the part, like how that they can strike a conversation.
Yeah.
they'll
While women are
start
possibly dragging the kids first, making the food, getting this ready, and
yes,
then dragging
and then
themselves
getting
out.
ready for a class if
Yeah.
they have one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, if they've got time. Or
If
they
they've
just
got
go
time.
like that and they won't look at themselves at all.
Yes. So I just
Yeah.
think that there are things that we can learn from men, and this is a great opportunity for us to do that.
100%.
Which is how to stay better in terms of health and also in terms of the ability to put ourselves first.
Tell me one thing. What you said, put yourself first. Give that advice to a woman who's been told that she's selfish in putting herself first.
So I think, this is a narrative. We can keep saying that you are selfish. Partly this narrative is actually pushed by other women. We don't recognize this. I've never really heard a man say you're selfish. I've often seen other women say this. They're so used to sacrificing that they don't want anybody else to thrive. And it's very unfortunate. I would say mothers are like this.
I did it, so can you.
Yeah, so I just think that the challenge with this whole conversation has always been that, we talked about women raising men. Women also raise women, and they raise them to become sacrificial lambs, raise them to be people who put others first, raise them to be the ones who should sit properly and talk softly and all of that. In many ways, they just raise them to be people who are selfless and give up their identity, their personality and everything, and merge it. There's this absolutely bizarre idea in the Indian conversation, which I hear at every wedding, that now you're married, just like sugar, you should dissolve into the other person's family and life, and that's what matters. And I'm like, this is me. I'm a human being. I have my rights. I'm a person. I don't need to dissolve into anybody's lives, right? I just really, it's probably showing, but I get very frustrated with such conversations. I have questioned them. You've got only one life. Ask yourself, are you going to be here to give up everything? Try your best to find ways to not have to do it.
Yeah. And also, if you're going to be happy or regretful about it, ask that question as well.
Always.
Tell me, what shaped you? Shaili today, who's sitting here very passionate, very, very, very opinionated. Nothing wrong with having opinions. I'm very opinionated as well. Yeah. What shaped you to become this?
I don't know. Maybe my dad. I've seen him being very, very ambitious, and I think I'm fully inspired by everything that he did. He's a military guy. He flew planes. He came from a business family. His mind was made up at the age of 6 that he would be a fighter pilot, and he would join the Indian Air Force. And I really look back and think, how did a 6-year-old decide this for himself? It's phenomenal. And I have always seen him do things meticulously on time, respect people's time, and reach there and meet them and provide them advice. And at the same time, be very, very mindful of his own priorities. And I really like that. I just like clean feelings. You can agree, you can disagree, you can be jealous, but you can put this all on the table. You don't have to be a bit of this and a bit of that, and then be
And
nobody. It's just,
and you don't have to hide.
yeah.
You just say,
And
you
you
know
don't have
what,
to
this is what it is. This is how I feel.
Yep.
But then don't put me down for what I feel as well. If you don't
I think-
agree, that's up to you.
So I think that's a position of privilege. And I would say this very honestly, one of the reasons why I wanted to earn all my life, and I have truly been unstoppable. I was telling my son, I haven't stopped working since the time I left my home in class 10. I was working through college and paying through my, laptops, and other than tuition fee, I pay through everything.
Yeah.
So I just think that it's a privilege to earn money. And the only reason I wanted it so that I could say no. And I couldn't be bothered about anybody else's opinion about me. So I truly earn money to have the agency I have. I really don't want brands and shoes. It's good to have. They're not must have for me. But what I really need money for is for people to see that if they believe that money is success, then here, take a look at my face and remember it. If you believe that money gives you agency to say no, well, absolutely. The big reason why I have it. I just don't want to have people having control over me in any form. And that includes family. It includes outsiders. It includes public. I think that is your biggest
That's your basic right.
Yeah, it's your right. But you have to get this right. You have to go acquire this right. It doesn't come to you.
100%. And most women lose that right because you are dissolving yourself.
Yes, because they don't marry for
adapt.
marriage, right? People marry for financial security. And a really smart woman who divorced and set up her own career in comedy once told me that she literally married for financial security. That's how she was raised. That, you get married, you are financially secure. Remember, the more jewelry you wear as a married woman, the more, secure you look, all kind of stuff. And I'm like, I can buy my own jewelry. So it's just one of those things.
But each to their own. But at the end of the day, again, the question is, are you happy or are you regretful about it? That is the question.
Yeah. So, I think even that, so I do have some strong views about each to their own, because I do feel that sometimes in this cloud, a lot of women use this as a crutch to not go out there and do something when they can, when they're capable, when they're trained. So many women I know who went to London School of Economics, came back home and started nothing. Why? Why did you get educated? Right. Start something. You don't have to make millions, but start something, because you can truly change things, right? Men don't have a choice. Women do. Let's change that. Maybe give men the choice.
Let's change that.
Let's not get women the choice, right? Yeah.
I love that. And also, what you said, it makes you cross. What makes me cross is don't complain. Don't complain about the situation if you're not doing anything about it. If you are not changing something, you are choosing it. So don't choose without changing. And that's what makes me cross, is don't keep saying, oh, I'm in this. But what are you doing about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do something. Oh my gosh, this has been a privilege talking to you. Thank you so much. And
thanks.
Again,
Thanks
I will remember you forever. I hope
that's sweet. All the best for her own narrative, and wishing you millions of reach, and take your voice far and beyond.
Thank you. Every woman deserves it. Thank you. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Take care. Bye.